then it's a little bit more disappointing. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to compare the Norvina Collection palette Volume 2 and Volume 3 because in my original comparison, comparing all three, a lot of the comments were pretty shocked of how similar the green shades were in these two palettes, so I thought it would be a good idea to put the green shades to the test and writing down all the comparisons and doing an eye look with Volume 2 and Volume 3 on the other eye. So if you're interested in this video, then let's get to it. So if you haven't seen my comparison video, I'll have it linked up in the cards for you, but I'll insert a picture right here of what the green shades look like all swatched out from Volume 2 to Volume 3. And in my original comparison video, I have all the shades listed out, or I said what the shades were, but in this video, I wanted to put Volume 2 and Volume 3 to the test because I noticed that the green shades were by far the most similar. So I have them side by side right now. So you can, if you try to look at just the green shades, there are a lot of similarities. So I'm gonna do a look with the green shades to compare them on either side to see if they look any different or if they look exactly the same. So I'm only gonna zoom you guys in a little bit for this video. So the first shades we are going to be comparing is A2 out of the Volume 2 palette and A1 out of the Volume 3 palette. It's so hard to hold all of these palettes up. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna use these first two shades as a transition shade. I don't want to get too crazy with the eye look. I just want to be able to tell the differences. So on this eye, I have Volume 2 with the shade A2, and then I'm gonna place A1 from Volume 3 on my other eye. So far, they look pretty dang similar on the eyes if you ask me. The next shade that I'm gonna bring in is B1 from the Volume 2 palette compared with A4 out of the Volume 3 palette. So I'm just gonna put this in the outer corner. This is B1 from Volume 2. And then now I'm gonna take A4 from the Volume 3 and put it in the same spot. And yet again, this is looking like I haven't even changed anything. These look pretty freaking similar to me. The next comparison is going to be B3, which is not as bright as B1. And I'm going to compare this to E1, which is in the Volume 3 palette. Alright, I'm going to take B3 from the Volume 2 and just deepening up that outer V, and then I'm going to go back in with B1 and just blend out the edges a little bit. And then I just cleaned off the brush. I'm gonna take E1 from the Volume 3 palette and do the same thing, just deepening up that outer V. They seem really, really similar, especially now when they're on the eyes. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take A4 and just blend out the edges. Not looking too good so far, guys. So the next shades that I'm going to compare, I'm going to put them underneath my lower lash line. So out of the Volume 2 palette, I have E1. And then out of the Volume 3 palette, there is B2. They are pretty much exactly the same. They're like a seafoam green with a little bit of a shimmer to them. So I'm gonna take E1 out of Volume 2. I'm just gonna run it underneath the lash line, and I'm kind of gonna make it a bit smoky so that we can see the actual color of this. And I'm just gonna wipe my brush off, and I'm gonna take B2 from Volume 3, do the same thing, just putting it under the lower lash line. So far, these look pretty identical if you ask me. So now I'm going to compare the shimmers on the lid. So I have A5 from volume 2, and I'm going to compare that to C5 out of the volume 3 palette. I'm going to use both of these with my finger. First going in with A5, and be kind of careful with this. And then I'm going to take A5 on a brush just to get into my inner corner. It's a little bit deeper when you wet the brush. All right, now I'm gonna take C5 from volume 3, put this on this eye. So the shimmers are definitely the biggest difference out of both looks. They both are like a bluish green with the gold shimmer. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with C5 and just take it with a brush to get in my inner corner. And then to make this look a little bit more complete, I'm gonna take C1 out of the volume 2 palette and use that to highlight my inner corner. And then I'm gonna take C1 out of the volume 3 palette, which is a bit more glittery, so I'm gonna wet this one and put this on the inner corner of this eye. All right, and here are the two different eye looks, volume 2, volume 3. So if you like green shades, I think it's safe to say that either of these palettes are gonna be fine because they're literally exactly the same. The shimmers are the biggest difference, but as far as the green matte shades that I tested out, they are exactly the same on the eyes. So I'll let you guys decide that one for yourselves. I don't really know how to feel about the similarities with the eyeshadows. I am a little disappointed. I do wish they were a bit different. But when you look at the palette by itself, all of it together by itself, I do think the greens make sense in each palette. But when you have all of the palettes, it's a little bit disappointing. And since these are marketed as a collection and there's different volumes that you can get, then it's a little bit more disappointing. But when you look at it by itself, then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if this helped you out a little bit more with making your decisions on which palette to get. And if you want to watch my comparison video, I'll have it right over here. So you can click on it and watch that video and all of the comparisons between volume 1, 2, and 3. And then this video will be suggested to you by YouTube and my face will be right here and you can click on it and subscribe to my channel.